You're listening to an interview taken from the Tonic Talk Show and Podcast, heard exclusively on Zoomer Radio, sponsored by New Roots Herbal. To download or listen to the original episode or other episodes of The Tonic, please visit thetonic.ca.
Andrea Donsky is a registered holistic nutritionist with 20 years experience in natural health and wellness. She's the co-founder and editor-in-chief of naturallysavvy.com, and she's a regular contributor to Tonic Magazine. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jamie. This is exciting. We've known each other for so long.
We've worked together for so long, and this is the very first time you're here. Don't take it personally. We love you.
Good. Thank you.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So I'm told, because I'm not a woman, that March 8th is Women's Health Day.
Yes,
which
yay.
we're all going to celebrate.
We are.
Even us, like other gendered, are going to celebrate it too. But it's a good opportunity to talk about women's health, right?
It absolutely is. I mean, we're so different than men, right? So I love the fact that we have our own day and we can look at each other. We can celebrate the female, the woman, right?
Every day is Women's Health Day.
That's true. According to my husband, he would say that. Every day is a woman's day.
So where do you want to start? Let's talk about women and heart health, okay?
I think that's an important one. You know, it's interesting. We're launching a brand new YouTube channel, which I cannot wait. And I was interviewing somebody yesterday who said that she's 50, almost 50, and she was having these pains in her joints in her left arm, and she was dizzy, and she was a little bit nauseous, and intuitively, she was like, wait a second, I think this might be my heart. And she went to go get it checked out, and guess the powers or whoever she went to go check it out by was saying that, oh, it can't be your heart, it's probably anxiety. And in the end, it actually was her heart. And I think it's one of those things as being a woman, especially if you're, when you think of heart health for women, you think older, but it could be. And now you hear more and more of younger people who are having some heart issues. And I think the key is really understanding our bodies and knowing if you feel something's off and you hear from one person that maybe it's not exactly making sense to you and you're like, I kind of feel like I need to go check it out somewhere else. Listen to your gut, listen to your body, because we know our bodies best. And it ended up being her heart, which is crazy, right? But
it's a real issue. And I've had a number of guests on who talk about it gets to the point where even research for serious ailments was historically so male-centric.
Yes.
That there was
19-year-old college students.
Right. There was no recognition of the physiological differences between men and women when they were calculating, the health risks of, for example, heart disease, right? So how can you possibly expect a woman to understand what the symptomology is when it's never been presented like that?
That's right.
And that's really the issue. But it's kind of a scary thought that we really don't understand how the manifestations of heart disease are going to appear on a woman, which might be different than a man, right? And there are differences, right?
There are differences. Like according to the Heart and Stroke Foundation, chest pain does present in both men and women.
Which is logical, right?
Right, which is logical. But for women, it could be dizziness. It could be extreme tiredness. I mean, my grandmother, who was 73, had a heart attack, and she did not know those symptoms, right? And neither did my grandfather at the time. But now we understand that they do present differently in women and men because she didn't have chest pain.
Right.
Or chest pressure, right? So she had, I think it was like upper back pain or lower back pain. It was something that was a little bit different. So.
Sometimes it can manifest in your arms, right? Which is what you said, the woman that you had
interviewed.
It
was her joint pain in her left arm. And, the interesting thing too is that heart attack symptoms go unrecognized in 53% of women. Yeah. 53%. That's a high percentage.
Right. And dealing with heart disease or a manifestation like an episode, like a heart attack, and not all episodes are heart attacks, but not correctly diagnosing it obviously impacts the chances of survival
yes,
and
absolutely.
also further episodes, right? So it's pretty serious.
Pretty serious.
Is there a resource that women can go to determine whether, just to even understand?
I would say the Heart and Stroke Foundation. I would say, obviously Google. If there's something that you're experiencing, Google it, get informed. And that's the key. And, to me, I would go right to the source of the people who are doing the research that understand it perfectly or very well.
Okay. So now we've discussed what the signs of heart disease in women are. What are things that women should do to prevent heart disease?
Oh, I mean, I'm a nutritionist, so that's a great question for me, Jamie. I'm going to start, obviously, nutrition. Lifestyle is a big one, right?
Yep.
So don't smoke, limit or don't drink. and also the type of food that you're eating, right? So you want to make sure you're getting good lots of omega-3s. So if you like fish, so salmon, mackerel, sardines. If you don't eat fish, if you're vegan or vegetarian, you can go with hemp seeds or flax seeds or chia seeds, right? So the omega-3s are very important, not only for our heart, but they're important for our brain as well. So food, I would say, lifestyle makes a huge difference for so many different health, anything to do with health, but obviously the heart is a big one. And then exercise. So we want to make sure that we're getting enough exercise. Even if you can't exercise or you have limited mobility, just walking, anything, swimming, something, anything that's going to get you moving and your heart beating. And the new thing now, which I don't know if you're into, but oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with HIIT exercises. The high intensity interval training.
I take 2 classes a week.
Okay, so I started doing it probably 3-4 months ago.
Yep.
I'm literally obsessed. And it takes a lot for me to find an exercise that I really love.
Yeah.
But I love it because it stops and starts, right? So it works on the heart rate variability, which is kind of working that sympathetic and parasympathetic balance. So yeah, it's awesome exercise.
Are you doing real classes though, where like you really have to go all out for like 20, 30, 40 seconds? With
I'm doing F45, so would that be real?
That's real.
Okay.
F45 is real.
Okay, so then I'm doing real classes.
Yeah. And I've cut out, I used to do a lot more spinning, but I've switched out the spinning for HIIT classes, but also strength training, which is why
I love HIIT, because F45. I mean, this again, we're no way affiliated with F45, but what's great is that you have the strength training exercises, and then you also have the cardio. Yeah, so it's amazing.
But people should be doing both. And the other thing you should think about is, we talk a lot, and I talk a lot, like very tedious about my workouts, but the truth of the matter is the best benefit that people will get is the move from doing nothing to doing something.
Oh, totally.
You don't, you don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be professional. You don't have to compete. But if you're doing nothing, something is better than nothing.
Absolutely. And not only for our heart, by the way. Let's talk mental health for a second.
100%.
Oh, for me, the biggest thing has been the mental health, because it obviously we're relieving anxiety, but it also helps with, those neurotransmitters that are
the endorphins, right?
Right, the endorphins that are making us feel great. So after a workout, if you're feeling bad before it, you're feeling pretty good after.
Yeah. Especially if there's a cardio element to it.
And it helps, by the way, if we're talking about women's health, it actually helps to strengthen our bones, which is the resistance training, right? So we're getting those bones. And as we get older, we start to lose muscle mass, right?
Well,
we start to,
Yeah, that's sort of the key when you're talking about doing sort of weight training, right? Mm-hmm. And again, we're not necessarily talking about heavy weights, but including weight training in with your program, it helps the joints because the muscles around the joints get bigger, right? So you're actually protecting the joints. A lot of exercise, I'm sure you're doing multiple movements, is good for your mobility, which means you can continue to do the exercise, which is key and crucial to your bone and joint health. Yep. But I'm sure you have some thoughts on that too.
Yeah, well, when we're born, until the age of 30, our muscles get bigger and stronger. But after 30, we start to lose muscle mass. And even if you're not a very active person, it can cause you, if you're not a very active person, it actually can cause you to lose muscle mass even faster.
Right.
So the thing is, you want to be active for those muscles, because the muscles, exactly, what they kind of, they help with the bone mass. They help with so many different things that provide you with your strong legs so you can walk, because as we get older, there's certain things that we're more prone to, like fractures, right? So we want to just make sure like we're keeping our muscles and our bones strong as we get older.
Well, also, I mean, just to get around, right? Like I'm in my 50s. I know you're not yet.
Oh, I am. I turned 50. Yeah, I turned 50 January.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when we're in our 50s, I mean, the idea is, you're going to use the muscles or lose them, right?
Yes.
But it's actually that's not quite accurate. It's not just use them or lose them. You can actually build muscle into your 50s. I'm stronger now in my mid-50s than I ever was in my 30s or 40s because I'm actually doing the weight training.
Yeah, and eating properly too. You're probably getting enough protein, which also helps to build them, right?
Right. Exactly. So even for women, because Naomi does the weight training with me, there's a lot of women think, if I do weight training, I'm going to get bulky and it's not feminine. That's actually not true.
Not at all. It's also genetic makeup, right? Which kind of determines how much muscle mass you're going to put on.
Right. But there's different types of weight training. You can have longer, leaner muscles by doing more reps with lower weight, as opposed to like doing tons of weight with lower reps. Yes, you could bulk up if you do it the wrong way, but you can build long, lean muscle as well, which looks very attractive.
Right. No, it's a very good point. I know someone like myself, even if I tried, I could never get that bulky look. It's just not in my genetic
No,
makeup.
I know, but it's a concern for people who maybe don't want to do weight training.
Yeah.
Also, they might hurt themselves. If you're going to a qualified gym and somebody's watching you do the movements, it should be fine.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's important that we do it. My mother, she's 72, and she works out several times a week, and she focuses on that weight training. And she said it's made a huge difference, even in her balance.
Yeah.
So that it's so important for us.
But if you are doing sort of exercise, HIIT or weight training, or for whatever reason, it's also important that you get enough protein, right? Which is something you just alluded to.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we age, a lot of us, especially, as women, we may not get as much protein as we once did. So, and there's different ways that we can get our protein. So,
why do you think people aren't getting enough protein? Is it because people are focusing on plant-based diets, or
a lot of plant-based diets? I mean, but there is a lot of ways. Obviously, plant-based you can get a lot of protein, but I think it's people understanding where to get your sources of protein, right, and making sure that you're getting enough of it. So definitely that's one of it. And some people may want to be, make it a choice that they want to cut down on the amount of protein that they're eating. So I think there's different reasons why. And also as we age, we may not eat as much as we once did.
Yes.
We once did too. So then if you're not eating as much, then maybe you're eating less protein than you're eating more carbs or something else.
Well, I'm certainly eating less red meat than I used to, right? And I have to be very mindful of making sure that, if I'm not having that type of protein, I'm getting it different ways, like perhaps by mixing grains and beans together to get the complex proteins and carbohydrates that you need to fuel the body and the brain. Right?
Exactly. No, that's well said. So I don't know if you've ever tried bone broth. Have you ever?
No.
Okay, so bone broth is another great way to get
Isn't
your
it
protein.
Soup? Is that soup?
So it's soup. So you can make it yourself. So I actually really like bone broth for a couple of reasons. One is that it gives us a protein, but also that it has collagen. So I'm obsessed with collagen. And as women, collagen is so important for us.
Why? What do you need it for?
Okay, so when babies are born, we're 90% collagen. And as we age, after the age of 21, we lose 1% of collagen a year. So think of collagen as like the connective tissue. It's the glue that holds everything together. So after menopause, within the first 5 years, we actually lose an additional 30% of our collagen. 30%. That's a lot of collagen. So when our collagen decreases, what can happen is it can lead to joint and muscle pain, but also fine lines and wrinkles. Yep. Because the connective tissue, think of it, if you think of pantyhose and you think of the fishnet pantyhose, so think of it being taut or think of it as being really loose, right? So someone's worn those pantyhose a lot. As our collagen goes down, that loose pantyhose is what kind of happens to our skin. It becomes saggy. We get our fine lines and wrinkles. We really want to be getting enough collagen. And one way you can do it to get your protein and your collagen is with bone broth.
Okay, so help me out here. I've been doing this for years. What's the difference between bone broth and like chicken soup? Like seriously, what's the difference?
Okay, so bone broth, first of all, you have to get the proper bones, right?
Like marrow bones?
It's the marrow bones. And then you have to cook it at a low temperature. So I've done this many times. I use a crock pot and I let it go for it's 12 or sometimes people will say 24 hours. Like it's a very long, slow process. And it it takes all of the collagen out of the bones in that long process. And so that would be the difference between chicken soup. For me, you're using, first of all, chicken. You're using the meat and the flesh of the chicken, whereas the bone for bone broth you're just using the bones, the actual bone. You're putting in some carrots and some onions, like you're putting in some vegetables as well, and you're just letting it cook for a very long time. Whereas chicken soup would be more of you're using raw, using chicken, the whole chicken.
Yeah, but you're putting the bones in, though. You
are, but it's a different kind of bones. So you want beef marrow bones. It's not chicken, right? You're using it. It's
got to be beef, right?
Yeah, it's a beef bone.
There's no
such
thing as chicken.
You can get chicken collagen. Yeah, chicken, and you can get fish collagen as well. But if we're talking like beef broth, then you need obviously the beef marrow bones.
Okay. Or you could go buy the broth, right?
You can. You're like, wait a minute, that sounds like a lot of work.
It does.
And
I like to cook, but I'm not sure I'm up for the 12 hours of
12 to 24 hours. Yeah, you can actually buy.
We have an Instant Pot, so we could do it in there, I bet.
Very cool. Yeah, you know what? I have to get myself an Instant Pot. I know. I have to do that. Anyways, but you can buy beef bone broth powder, and then it's much easier to make it that way.
Are there other ways to get collagen other than?
You could take it in a capsule format. So a powder or capsule format. So I've done that as well. I do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
so they're different
what should we, presuming you want to supplement, what should we be looking for?
I mean, the key is you want it to be broken down into small peptides because that way it gets absorbed better into our body. So you want to look for brands that actually have it broken down into those smaller peptides. So one of the products that I really like is Roots Herbal. They have a beef bone broth protein that's made with BSE-free and hormone-free beef. And that's the other thing. You want to make sure they have no antibiotics in the actual beef and the products, because then you're obviously
because you are all about the organics.
Well, exactly.
That's what you write about for the magazine.
Exactly. That's right. Our column in Tonic. I love it. Under Naturally Savvy. And what's nice is that their bone broth, each serving has 27 grams of protein. So there you go. Right.
That
you
seems
get
like
the
a lot
collagen
easier than being over the pot. Just for me personally.
I hear you. Listen, convenience. That's what it's about nowadays, right? It's the convenience thing.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Jamie. This was fun.
And you're going to be back in a few months, and we're going to talk all about probiotics, right?
We are. Something else that I absolutely love taking on a regular basis.
Fantastic.